Hello, everybody. Welcome back for a reunion episode of Don't Talk If You Don't Know, the official podcast that once upon a time was dedicated to high-level teamfight tactics. My name is Frodan. I'm your host. And joined back in the flesh, it's Bryce Blum, looking jacked as ever. Brother, you look like a unit. What the heck's been going on? How's life been?
It's been a good year. It's been a good year. I'm literally like almost basically exactly a year into my sabbatical. And yeah, I mean, I've a lot of what I've been doing has been working on my body, and definitely working out regularly has been part of that. So it's nice. I feel like I'm not anywhere near done, but it's the progress is good. I'm very, very happy with it.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of these pictures that I forgot to import, so we're going to show them in a big sec in just a sec here. But so what I'm hearing is that you have stepped away from TFT and your life has remarkably improved.
I mean, yes, that is true. I'm not sure that it's like, it's a little bit of a correlation equals causation situation, because I also stepped away from work, which was another major investment of my time and in mental energy. So there's a lot of things that changed kind of in that like same period of time. But yes, it is certainly true that when you take all of the hours I was pouring in TFT and sprinkle them out across a bunch of other things, it leads to a more like well-balanced life, right? I'm like more mentally well, I'm more physically well. I have more time for other hobbies, pursuits, friends, family, etc. So there's definitely upside to not investing the level of time and attention that in TFT. Downside too, though, I really miss it.
Yeah, we miss you as well, but it looks like you're having fun. If you guys don't know, Bryce used to be the commentator with me when both of us were casting the main broadcast.
Man, that's fucking crazy. You have to say that. That feels so weird.
Some people legitimately don't know.
No,
a lot of time has passed. It's been 15
Yep.
months since we've done the recent episode. Our most recent episode was when just one set 13 worlds for Into the Arcane. But a big reason why you step away is because you had twin boys. You went from Shay, who's on the far right, to Arlo and Finn, who were on the left and in the center. And man, they grew up so fast, even from when I last saw them like a month or two ago.
Isn't it? It's crazy how fast it goes, man. Yeah, Shay just
crazy.
turned 5.
Shay's 5 years old.
Yeah, this is actually
crazy.
This picture. This Mario Kart picture is her birthday. Okay, listen to this. For her birthday, she didn't want a party. She wanted a yes day, so she's got to pick everything. Here's what we did on the day that my daughter planned without pressure from me. We went to the golf store and driving range.
Okay.
Then we went to an arcade.
Yeah.
Then we went to Five Guys. Then we went to see the Mario movie in the theaters.
Wow. She sounds like me when I was like 16 or 17. I got my first car.
Yeah. Clearly, we like hanging out together, because if I had planned a yes day, it would look an awful lot like that.
Amazing.
And this was her first time at an arcade, and she had a lot of fun. She also played the Mario Kart game you're looking at with me and with my wife, with Adrian. And Shay and I put up a W. Adrian and her did not. So she learned at a very young age that dad is the one.
Is a superior gamer.
Games. You want to be with dad when we're gaming.
I love that. Here's a picture with your whole family, sans you, Adrian, the champion, the executive producer, the legend, with the kids. And then this is a picture of you with Case. Is it?
No, it's actually it's just the only picture I had from this trip, but I've been golfing a lot more, so I like try to find a picture of golfing, and literally all of the golfing pictures are just me working on my swing. It like could not be less interesting.
Okay.
This is the picture, the one picture I got. We went to Bandon Dunes, which is like kind of like golf mecca actually in the United States. It's like one of the nicest golf destinations in the world.
Okay.
And so this was just like a picture that I took on that trip.
Okay.
But yeah, golf has also been like a meaningful part of this break for me. When I played golf growing up, but then I quit for like 20 years, and I picked it back up like a year and a half ago. So when I started my sabbatical, I was a 20 handicap, like a 21 handicap, I think, and then I'm down to a 6. So progress.
Wait, 6 is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's not where I want to be, but it's pretty good.
Wait, where do you want to actually play, like potentially into a play-in week and then try to make on the tour?
On the tour? No.
Well, I mean,
I
if you give
I think
it,
my current goal is scratch. I would like to be a scratch golfer, and then if I become a scratch golfer, I'll probably play in some local tournaments and stuff, maybe like a USAM qualifier at some point.
oh my god, that's crazy. That's crazy. Okay, well,
You know me.
I would definitely come watch
do
you.
stuff half-ass. It's like why I had to stop playing TFT all the way, right? Like I
Yeah, you
can't
have to
like
be
be playing
competitive.
100 games a set and be hovering around Masters. That just does not do it for me at all.
Okay. So I'll come watch you in golf, and you can come watch me chut it out at a Riftbound tournament. Sounds good.
I can't wait. Yeah, you've become a little bit of a Riftbound legend, Dan. You've been doing very well.
I've done. I think the standard is I've done really well for a person that's very clearly doing it as like a second priority or like a hobby. I think I'm doing all right. It's been a really good journey. I like TCGs as well, but one of these days we can kind of exchange. Like you can show me golf, and I will show you how to spend a lot of money on cardboard. All right.
Wait.
So this is what we're gonna do. We are going to do 2 parts to this show today. Yes, we are going to have the ruling of Jedusor. If you guys don't know, the reason why Bryce and I are going to reunite, sorry to spend the first few minutes. This is the pre-show technically, but we'll probably, for the VOD purposes, we'll upload the whole thing. But we're going to do 2 things. One is going to cover the competitive ruling that just dropped. The reason why Bryce and I are uniting is because we want to talk about the latest drama in competitive TFT, which is the pause champ himself, Jedusor, winning a tournament. And then, right before he was able to do a big roll down, had to pause for his own break, and that caused a lot of controversy around him. However, I do feel like we'd be remiss to not actually talk about other things, because usually on this podcast, we also recap other competitive events. And I feel like jumping straight into that is definitely one way to go into it. You can go straight to the deep end. But I also, like I said at the beginning of the show, there was 15 months between this and the previous episode. And Bryce has been busy living life, and some people here also may be literally coming for the first time just to watch his drama, but also haven't caught up. So I figured one thing that'd be cool to do is do 15 things, facts, stories that have happened since our last episode. And I want
Dan is pretending like there's anyone in chat that doesn't already know like all 15 of these things. This is for me, chat.
But it's
gonna be great.
It's fun.
It's gonna be a trip down memory lane for all of you, and you're gonna enjoy it as well.
Yes. Okay, so some of these can be fast, could be like, oh, that's neat. But the others could be like, we could take our time and talk a little bit about it.
Sounds good.
And then once those 15 are done, we're going to have Tarteman join us as our guest, right? You guys saw at the beginning, Tarteman is going to be joining us. He is going to be talking with Bryce and discussing about Jedusor and the French community's POV, because right now there's a lot of divide between them and the people trying to yell at them. So let's go ahead and jump to the first story. First story is boom. APAC is now the most winning region over the past year. They have the most representation in top A's, and they have won set 14 and 15 right after Disobed won, right when we did our reunion episode. APAC has started really taking over, and they are regularly in conversation of leading the meta innovation. They're winning the tournaments. They're powerhouses. Taiwan in particular has shown up. Summertimer continues Japan's legacy, and even new talent from Korea. YBY has now kind of put himself very much on top of APAC and a lot of the rest. So APAC is now considered
a streamer
the
too,
best
right?
region.
Like back in my day, YBY was like an up and coming really good player, and now he's like the face of the region.
So want to recognize them. Yes, NA is still good. In fact, we are the reigning champions, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But that is story number 1. Story number 2. Cyber said in set 14, right after the episode, was the first time we ever had players on LAN for Americas. Believe it or not, everything had always been played online, and we actually had the players flown out. You had Setsuko, Disub, Kurum, Robin, Wage and Iverson was all there in set 14. We went to I believe it was the FaZe headquarters in Dallas. And they flew us all out. So it was a really cool event. And that was like, I actually think that's probably the future model of it, because the next story after that was that we tried doing a full globalized LAN, and that wasn't as successful. But this was actually really, really nice.
Yeah, the full global LAN thing on the timing of qualification is just, I'm not sure that will ever actually work.
Yeah, I agree with that. Then right after they announced the start of the TFT Pro circuit. I'm not sure how much you'd be able to follow, but we did away with the existing system. We created tier 1 and tier 2 as a big separation. We announced the qualification. method, which was make regionals. And then there was a little bit of drama around the 4 invite slots because
Yeah.
this is actually part 2. I didn't put an image of this, but Soju and Prestivan and Setsuko all got banned from playing the last cup because of sharing accounts. And because they got DQ'd and couldn't make regionals, they had to go through the invites, which meant that the invites couldn't go to people like Malala, who was like a world champion, didn't make it. So there was, and in EMEA, they invited Revan over Wet Jungler. So there was definitely some drama around this invite for the system.
Okay, well, at least the Revan stuff panned out really well.
Yeah.
Because I understand why they made that invite from a popularity perspective, and he's done, very well with it, which is awesome. It's been super hype. Fucking Soju and Pigot and Setsuko, man, that is the most classic shit. Somehow that didn't get on my radar. Otherwise, I would have messaged them and given them shit about it.
Yeah, their account name that they shared, I believe, was called Parking Lotter 69 as well, which is just like they weren't making it very obvious. They're making it a little too obvious who was playing on that account.
Yeah.
All right.
Also Spencer and Phoenix. I mean, yeah, of course.
Oh,
Spencer
right.
Like if those 3 chuckleheads are doing it, then Spencer and Phoenix are absolutely in the mix.
Yes, they're just like innocent, like impressionable young men who just want to hang out, and they're like, yeah, we'll just borrow their account. They're like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right, news piece number 4. In set 15. CMB9 wins Brazil's first ever post-merger major. So, for a long time when America's merged with Brazil and LATAM, people kept saying, it's NA is just going to win everything, and LATAM Brazil are behind. We had sensed that the gap was closing for quite some time, and CMB9 actually finally wins something for Brazil. And since then, I think there's been just a lot more respect. Now, I feel like the conversations around gaps between regions is no longer really a big talking point for a lot of players, because it feels like a lot of the players have proven themselves over time, and with this win kind of cements that legacy. The fun additional follow-up to this is that NA at set 15 Worlds did horrendously. We averaged in the 5s. Brazil was averaging in like the low 4s. So they're the only thing that saved us from being completely embarrassed on the global stage. Brazil in set 15 was crazy good, and they carried us.
LATAM is still not good, right? It's like a 1-player region.
All right, Bryce. I just said we moved past this.
But I'm saying you moved past this. My understanding is that there is still a gap, and a fairly material one. I am happy that Brazil, like when the merger happened, the conversation was, hey, let's see, are they going to rise, like playing against tougher competition regularly? Are they going to rise to that? Is it going to crush them? And it seems like it's split, right? Like it forged Brazil into the strongest version of the region that it could be, which is awesome to see. But it feels like LATAM has gone the other direction.
They have. I think like basically some Brazilians like rose to the occasion. I think a lot of LATAM just lost more and more talent, and that loses more motivation, right? Like Altanahue is not really part of things, and a lot of players retired. And right now, LATAM is largely considered to be a 1-man region behind Michael, plus whoever is like making the run. So Josue Delita is doing that. Last season it was Kiki, and then you have a couple of other players. But yeah, you're right. I'm not gonna say anymore, man. People LATAM.
If we're recording history, let's record history accurately, dude.
Okay, fair enough. Story number 5 of history here. We funneled down to 2 locations for Worlds in set 15. Every Americas and EU player flew to Spain for Alicante, and then all the China and APAC players flew to China. We had a 2 LAN location, and it was really funny because it ended up creating a scenario where the only player that made it to the final lobby was Tomino. So the final day of the stage was just Tomino sitting by himself, surrounded by this giant ass production. All the players just sitting there watching Tomino while he tries to play against 7 APAC and Chinese players by himself.
I love they made all the players fucking sit there on these couches and watch. That's a good shot. That's a really good shot.
Yeah. It was really funny. This is us co-streaming. It was me, Broseph, and T-Lides. It was actually a really good time, but yeah, we got bodied. No NA players in final lobby, and for a while, NA had kind of struggled to make final lobby. We usually had like only 1 or 2 players did, except for set 14. But Disop saved us in set 13. We were not that competitive in set 12. So for a while, we kind of thought that this was almost going to be the beginning of like the end of NA's reign of terror.
Are you saying that I left TFT and the NA fell off?
Actually, kind of. I'm not. I actually think that's somewat of a fair statement.
Well, when I left, NA was like on top, like very clear. No one could
Yeah.
make the argument. Right? They like grouped the regions. At least 50% of the reason for that was because they needed to make it seem more balanced and reduce NA's dominance. So they attached us to LATAM and Brazil.
Fun fact: Tomino is still in the pro circuit. He actually is doing very well. He's very competitive with it, and also he is another Riftbound legend. He actually won 2 best of sets. So I'm not even the best TFT X Riftbound player. It's Tomino. All right. News number 6. I mean, this is not going to be surprising. We actually talked about it. NA reclaims the throne. Thankfully, in set 16, Darth Noob saves our ass and wins. You actually gave an ode to Darth Noob a little bit on social media. So, and this is like a person that I think it's almost like universally across the board, unless you like hate NA just as a region because of rivalry or whatever, you're just really happy for this storyline.
Yeah, this was, I think, one of my favorite esports storylines ever. Not just favorite TFT storylines.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's just something about, part of esports is really this kind of, like when we all grow up knowing we're not going to play in the NBA, right? Like we are size, strength, speed gated. And one of the fun things about esports is there's always that theoretical, like I could be a pro too, right? Even though like none of the people in chat have any chance of playing in the LCS, right? But that's all kind of part of the feeling of being a fan and playing these games at the level we do. Most of the hardcore fans of the game are also hardcore players of the game. And so to have someone, then you couple that with the Reddit mod status, which is also kind of part of that, right? And so to have someone kind of come from Reddit and just be a mod of the competitive subreddit and then slowly but surely work on their game and ascend all the way to the very top of the esport, that's just fucking cool, man.
Yeah,
it's
cool.
just so cool. I was so happy for him. And also, what a fucking Giga Chad for the Reddit post. Like what a great, like to not even wait until after the fucking interview. Like he wins Worlds, he goes on Reddit and posts, and then he goes and does the interview. My God.
And he's following through as well. Some people win, and then that's sort of like that's when motivation wanes. They're like, okay, can I keep doing it? He's made 2 final lobbies, both of them final season, in the follow-up season. He won another cup, so he's back. That's the thing we don't do anymore, Bryce. The winning player does not get invited back. They have to earn their spot back. So
why?
Because of the way the TPC system structure works, they don't do the invite to the repeat champion because of the way they like structured everything. There's a summary of it, but
I need to figure out that seems wrong to me.
Okay.
I've been a proponent of the invite the champion back since before they added it as a rule, and I don't know why this format change would change that. I feel like the champion should have the opportunity. There should be a baseline of, like it used to be you had to like qualify for regionals now, right? But if you're in pro circuit, then I feel like you should be back. I don't know. I would just put it back.
I think they just want the players to stay engaged with the set. But so far, since we've had 2 champions, the world champions have made it back both times, without you and Darth Noob. Story number 7. We're almost halfway through. We're starting to move into set 16. China's Huanmei wins the TFT Pairs Open, locks in status as CN's current GOAT status. Now, he's now won regionals, worlds, and an open. He's been doing it as well. It's kind of through, and it's after a long drought period as well. Where people started questioning whether or not he can keep up with some of the younger talent. But Huanmei, I think now has kind of put himself there internationally as China's number 1, and that's not a surprise at all. So it's nice to see that.
So Soju in chat calling you out, Dan. Sounds like you gave up on the leg.
Okay, Soju says Dan told us this guy was washed and then he wins 10 tournaments. No. I said other people said he was washed.
Oh,
and I'm saying
classic.
That in China, people were he was getting called out by other top players saying that he is a fraud and that he doesn't pass their eye test. Like a lot of other top players, when they were watching Huanmei, like I remember one person, I think it was Flancy. I don't want to get it wrong, but I think it was Flancy. He crashed out and said Huanmei is so bad, and and it started like a chain conversation where people were just saying, yeah, like Huanmei like won because it was early and like he was playing high committal gamble TFT and it worked out, and he's like hasn't got results since. Because he talked about in an interview that he had actually gone through a slump. He wasn't even qualifying for regionals, Bryce. He wasn't even qualifying for regionals. Like there's definitely times where like Dish Soap hasn't won anything since set 13, but he's still like making good runs and he's still really competitive. Same thing with Tidal, right? All these like legends of it, but Huanmei was not even qualifying for regionals. So All
I mean,
I was doing was reporting what other people said.
He's always been a big. His play had a lot more volatility to it than someone like Dish Soaps, right? Like
Yeah.
he leans much harder on econ traits. He's a much more first or eighth oriented player. He took big risks, right? I felt like my recollection from VOD reviewing him from like 100 years ago is that he simultaneously made some of the best plays, but also would make big mistakes. Kind of like replay, actually, like similar vibes, very different play styles, but similar like guys that were at the top, but that weren't clean.
Yeah, 100 years ago, guys. 100 years. TFT's been around for quite some time. We're in our 7th birthday.
I mean, we started this fucking podcast with you being like, for those of you who don't know, Bryce was like a co-caster with me. Like, God damn, I am old.
Bryce, we started this podcast 4 years ago. It's crazy to think about.
I know. It's fucking crazy.
Story number 8.
The socks episode.
You're bringing up names that are going to be pretty relevant. Yeah, the socks episode, the milk episodes. Oh, man. TFT set 16. Lore and Legends, the most successful TFT set since set 9 Runeterra Forges in terms of viewership, engagement, player numbers. I believe is the most successful revenue from rumors that I've heard as well. And plus like financial reports that I've seen published in like, mobile markets in China. Set 16 was incredible for TFT. You messed up. We invited you to come to Paris to come hang out with us, and you said no. So do we even ask you to come, man? Do you understand how few at times that guy actually comes out of the woodwork to try to convince you to do something?
I know. Trust me. I really wanted to. I absolutely could not leave at that point in time.
Yeah, I understand. It was a rough period, but
yeah, it was sad, especially since I don't know if anyone noticed this, but go back and look at like their dev drop, what their goals were for the set in terms of, what they were trying to do with set 16, and compare it to the PowerPoint I put together for like my last act in TFT, like my articulation of what I thought TFT Utopia would be.
Yeah.
They're very fucking similar, so I was not surprised that set did very well.
It's true. And okay, yes. Bryce said it, so I'll say it. We helped make set 16 happen. It's true.
Yes. Yes. Agreed.
All right. Number 9. We're starting to go into individual player stories. Robin Songs has a career year and makes 5 world appearances. He's now 2nd in NA history behind Dissoap. Thoughts, Bryce? Or tied with Dissoap.
I am really happy with Robin and continue to be impressed by him. He has worked on his game more consistently for a longer period of time than any player that I can name. He just continues to work at it and get a little bit better. And he's like a basketball player that really understands his limits, right? Like he's a player that always plays within himself. He never gets out of line relative to the skill expression that he's capable of bringing to a game. So yeah, I'm not at all surprised to see him continuing to do this. Also, what a great human being.
Yeah, I hung out with Robin a lot. We've grown actually a lot closer because of Riftbound, and cool. I enjoyed it a lot. Robin, according to the metrics by EWC, number 1 player performer over the past year. If you don't just rank world wins, you just rank overall performance. Number 1 player in TFT, period. Like over the other people who are also doing really well. Over Wajan Iverson, over YBY, over Darth, and Without You, Summertime, etc. Very, very impressive.
Plus, for 100 years old, his health is like pretty good. I think he can keep doing this. Honestly, it's really impressive. I keep waiting for his body and mind to deteriorate, but it's not happening.
Number 10. But, Robin's not the talk of the town. It's actually this guy. Wajan Iverson is now considered number 1 in the Americas with a dominant 3-cup win streak in set 16. He's made 6 final lobbies in a row, going back to 2 weeks ago, maybe 7 this weekend. He's made 6 world appearances, now currently in the lead overall in North America, even more than the guys that we just talked about. So this guy is currently the man. He is him right now.
Asian version. I mean, he always had it, right? Like he literally always had this in him, and it's just he's now full time and like allocating a lot more of his energy to it. So not remotely surprising.
And we've been told for a long time.
I continue to say that I think that peak Wajan Iverson is the closest that we've ever seen to like a robot playing TFT. Like if an AI was playing TFT, I think it would be the closest to Wajan Iverson when he's at his peak.
Yeah, and I would say that it's been something that we had like hinted towards that we're like, yeah, he's like, because it's funny. One thing that I did was go through our top 50 when we did that, like, because at one point we did like a historical top 50. And just like watching it now, it's very funny how it's aged in a couple of years. Maybe in a future, if we end up doing one more somewhere down the line, we could probably revisit that. That'd be really fun. and
That would be
then see where it lands. Because Wajan, I think, was like 6 or something like that. I'm like, woof, that is that was very different than it is now.
yep.
All right, number 11. We're in our last few here. There's a new podcast. I just want to let you guys know if you guys literally love what we do here. There's a new podcast that was started by Gangly and Sealy called The Roll Down. They do their own power rankings. This is the most recent edition for the Dark Star Cup, which we're about to talk about in a few minutes. I promise you, it's not just memory lane. We are going to actually cover it. Where 1, 2, 3 was Wajan Precedent and Soju, right? Soju tying this up and displacing him. They
Do
actually.
you have a Soju graphic, by the way, or no?
I believe that's literally the next one.
Oh, sick.
Oh, no. Yes, it is the next one. We can just go straight into that, so you can check it out. Story number 12. K3 Soju wins his first ever TFT tournament and qualifies to the world champ for the second time. That's partially why he was pairing so high previously.
I love that the two most consistent players have been Robin and Soju since the pro circuit started. I mean, not surprising. Like I feel like most people continue to underrate Soju's capability as a player. I was with Sherm last night. We were having dinner and we were talking about Soju for a little bit, and I genuinely think that that his success as a streamer dramatically undermined what he would have done as a competitive player. Like if he wasn't such a good content creator, I think he would have been very clearly one of the best 5 players in North American TFT. If he had decided to actually lock in and optimize for his competitive performance. He's just so naturally fucking good, man. Some people with certain games, they just it feels like unfair, right? Their kind of level of natural affinity for it. Watching Soju has always felt like that to me, especially when he was really good. Like I remember when he made it to Worlds last time through set 7, it felt like that, where he was locked in and he was, yeah, it was just really, really fun to listen to the way he was talking about the patch. It was layers beyond what the other players were doing at the time.
It's so funny because he keeps saying could have been top 5 when Soju was good. Bryce, he is top 5.
Yeah,
and he is currently very good. If you look, I had to show you the power rankings again. I had to pull up the power rankings again.
No, you're right.
He's ranked 3rd over Disso.
That's right now. I'm talking about over the course of the last 5 years of NATFT history.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. I would say that if you look at the body of work, I mean, it was funny because when we did the power rankings, by the way, we put Soju top 10 and everyone thought that was a controversial take.
Yeah.
And now he's actually moved up since. We'll see.
Yep.
Okay. Let's go into number 13. This one is a little bit of a more sad thing, I guess, depending on how you view it. But Mortdog had quit content in set 16, and now in set 17, he actually has taken a sabbatical and has been away for a few months. So if you're wondering why he's been quiet on that front, it's because Mortdog is currently not with us. And if he comes back, when he comes back from sabbatical, I hope everything resumes as normal. But it does feel sad that it feels like he's pulled away a lot in the past half year or so. And I think that impact has actually been felt a lot by player base. I think part of the unsettling nature of what's going on currently in set 17 is because we're used to far more transparency and almost it feels like action, even though the team as it is with Tim, Inigo, and all of them are doing all they can and they're still as engaged as they ever were before. It definitely feels like there is a void there. And I just want to say more if you're happen to be listening or end up watching it or hear it, you are missed, and we hope that you're enjoying your sabbatical.
Very missed, but also your social media strikes me as someone that's actually chilling and having fun, and I hope that you're getting the recharge that you deserve more than basically anyone. Like I was so burnt out when I started my break, but I assure you was even more burnt out. Like the level of work and pressure on him to build this new game and genre out of thin air and to bring it set over set, with the incredible amount of pressure on him, both from the Riot side, but also from the community and being the public face of this thing and, not being able to say literally anything publicly without having dozens of people hop on his replies and tell him what a piece of shit he is and how horrible he is at his job around that stuff. Like I can't even imagine. So I'm really happy he's getting a break. He deserves it.
Not that I think I want to highlight it too much, but I did feel the need to say when I pulled up this tweet to try to screenshot it, I couldn't help but notice that there's maybe 1 or 2 people who are creating multiple accounts, replying underneath all of this, obviously saying inflammatory remarks and death threats, but also trying to find Mortdog's family on social media and harass them. And like that person's account was literally trying to tag like your father is a failure and he's like XYZ make like about his appearances and actually trying to say like, I hope you never show up to an event because you and your father and your everything like that. It's just like really, really messed up stuff. There are some absolutely completely sick and wicked and twisted people that are trying to like make sure that more doesn't come back. He's like, I'm glad you're not coming back, XYZ. And it's just straight up horrible acts. Not trying to necessarily say we can do anything about that because I don't even know who it is, but it's like they're making multiple accounts to do that and they're all tagged. It's just crazy. So
we can't do anything about that. But one thing I saw over the course of my time is that there were plenty of moments in TFT history where something was out of whack, usually a balance problem, and that would be like when the hate would really ratchet up. And there are a lot of people in this chat that have a lot of influence over the whether that happens, whether people are pushing back on them. So just remember, if when he does come back, that you wield, with great power comes great responsibility. I've always been very critical of TFT when I felt like that was the right thing to say, because I think that's part of our job is to kind of hold their feet to the fire and make sure we keep making this thing better set over set, but also understand that there are a lot of people that are going to take it too far and that sometimes they'll piggyback off of what you're doing. So you have to be really thoughtful in how you approach it.
Yep. And I think that is all that needs to be said about that. More, you are missed. Our last two, this is 14 and 15. I combine them to both because it's a little bit of just the cycle of life. The first is, well, I guess we can just start here. The new guard that's rising up. I haven't mixed up as 14 and 15. The new guard of TFT players who are putting great results recently, and they all happen to kind of come from a couple of the same areas. You have Cambially and the rise of the PMD guys that have been to be very consistent. Cam has, if it wasn't for like Robin and Wajin and Darth like stealing the spotlight, and of course Soju doing well, people like Cam have been really rising up. Then you also have the Boom Kitchen guys with Brosef, Marcel going full time. Tunington is now putting on an extremely consistent streak as well. You really have new stories and new faces, new blood, which is great to see, right? It's not just the old. So people were really worried that TPC would just be the same popular streamers playing against each other. It's like, oh, it'll be Kurum versus Soju versus Dish Soap versus Wajin. And again, it's not really just been that. It's been that and these guys really putting on a show. But we did lose some people along the way, which is the retirements of other people. I did this backwards, sorry. It was supposed to be, we haven't really seen some folks, world champion, replay. These are some of the notables, right? There's been more, but I just picked 4 people because at one point they were either number 1. Actually, they all had been power ranked number 1 at one point. So Replay has officially retired. I think he went back into his quant life work. Haven't given full-time TFT a try. Sox is making his own game. I don't know if you guys saw that. Sox is now an indie game developer. Goobums is now trying to be Goobums in Riftbound.
Is he really?
Yeah, I met up with him. I was showing my stream earlier. Sick. I took pictures with him. He's in Vancouver. He's competing. And I think Rainplosion has also resumed back her legal work. But yeah, not a lot of action from them, but that's okay because we have a lot more news stories rising up. All right. So that's basically it. Those are the 15 stories, Bryce. I think we're ready to transition over. Can you actually say something while I try to pull Tarteman in here? Give me like a minute or two. Talk about some of these things. Talk about some of your favorite moments. I'm gonna pull Tarteman into this call.
It was a fun I was aware of actually most of that. I haven't played a game of TFT since I retired, but I'll never go away entirely. It's I'm too connected to this community. I love this game too much to not at least be kind of tangentially aware of what's happening, and who's doing well and trying to, congratulate my friends when they're doing well and stuff. So sad to see some of these folks go, but very happy to see the new blood. And maybe at some point in my life I'll get back into TFT and I'll get to the joy of VOD reviewing a whole bunch of players that I've never really gotten a chance to study, because that's one of my favorite things to do is really watch someone when I haven't had a chance to watch them play before.
Yeah, that's right. And I think like the fun thing about TFT is kind of like what you said. I think some of these guys, we'll see them eventually in some way. I think even if it's not necessarily through a competitive format, a lot of people end up just kind of coming back and hanging out with events anyways. Okay, so now we're going to go to the main portion of the show. Sorry, I should have planned a smoother channel. Oh, my camera's not even
You're
here
good.
as well. Give me a sec.
Your one-man production crew and host, Dan.
That's
part of the
right.
charm
That's
of the
right.
show is that we do this shit live.
Okay, I'd like to officially welcome Tarteman to the episode. Tarteman, do you mind tilting your camera down just a little bit, just so that we can see your angle a little bit better? Because I'm cutting off your chin. Okay, cool. Boom, boom, boom. Sorry, I'm back in. All right, Tarteman. Hello, everyone. Say hi to Tarteman. Tarteman, why don't you introduce yourself? First of all, am I even pronouncing your name correctly? Is it Tarteman or a Tart?
Yeah, you pronounce it
T-money?
very well.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
exactly.
Okay, awesome. So, Tarteman, why don't you just introduce yourself for anybody who's never met you? I don't think you've ever met Bryce, right? So why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. So I play TFT since set 1 on full time since set 7 or set 8 when I joined Mios. And I played 3 times at World on set 11, 13, and 15.
Wow, nice.
Sick.
And
What's your
with
best world
Jedusor,
finish?
the top 9 on set 11, and
Ugh.
I think we will have to talk about this a bit later because
Okay.
it's linked to our problem.
Oh, cool.
Uh,
Well, not cool, but
and yeah, I play with Jedusor since set 9. Like he's my duo, and I spend more time with him than with my whole family. So
Okay, okay. So you would consider Jedusor to be one of your closest friends?
yeah.
Okay,
For
cool.
sure.
And I think it's important context of why, because we did ask Jedusor for context to come onto this podcast, because when we're discussing this issue, we also want to be fair. And also, I think it's important to understand kind of the perspectives of multiple sides here. So we asked Jedusor, and Jedusor said, you know what? I don't know if it would help me. Plus, I think he was understandably emotionally charged. But he said, you know what? Tartman is willing to come and defend. And you had actually been already kind of in the trenches talking to people and trying to defend him. So we're going to do all that. I would say that before we start, though, we should talk a little bit about what happened so we can define the facts of the situation as we know it. So the first thing that I have pulled up is just sort of I have an ad on YouTube, but I tried to pull the video clip of what exactly happened here. And then we can go through the riot rulings and talk a little bit about that. But from my understanding of what the situation is, and feel free to correct me, Bryce or Tartman, as I'm going through it, is that we were in the middle of a checkmate lobby at the finals of the Darkstar Cup. The way the Darkstar Cup works is that it's a TPC official event, and the winners of it not only get prize money and pro points for your seasonal standings, but you also get a spot in the World Championship, which we call the Tactician's Crown. This was the game number 6, I believe, or game number 5, where Jedusor was one of the few eligible people to win in checkmate, which means if you get it first, you win the tournament. And he's coming up on a turn where he's playing down to 1 HP. He's playing Invader Zed, which is Zed from Zed 2, Bryce. You would have loved this augment, where Zed gets to cast and multiply himself. But the thing about Zed is that you really have to play a fast 9 strategy and stabilize by rolling a lot of gold. Jedusor goes to level 9 in stage 5, barely survives. Let me see if I can fast forward here a little bit. And then right before his roll down here with about 22 seconds left, Jedusor actually pauses the game, gets up and walks away. This is actually my POV from the coaching. I don't even know what's going on at this point. I wasn't even sure if he paused. Walks away for a little bit of time, maybe like a minute, 90 seconds, comes back, resumes the game, and then plays out his turn, rolls down, stabilizes at true 1 HP. He's literally at 1 life, and then wins the game from there. And a lot of people are saying that pause was against the rules, and obviously people say punishments should happen. From that, Riot has opened up an official investigation, which they said that Jedusor had not replied to the admins, both during this pause. The admins asked Jedusor, why did you pause? There was no response. And then they asked him after the tournament, no response there. And then a statement has come out from Riot since that they decided to punish Jedusor by fining him 30% of the prize money, as well as taking all the points that he could get from this tournament, which is a lot. I think it's like 40 points or 41 points, effectively resetting him back into the middle of the pack, not guaranteeing him a spot for the next pro circuit. Because if you guys don't know, if you do well enough, you qualify for the next pro circuit. Otherwise, you get relegated and you have to play your way back in, which
And to be
which
clear,
has happened
he's
to Jedusor.
currently, because he's been doing so well, right? He's been the best player on the set. Even losing the points from this tournament, I think it's top 16 qualifying. He's in 17th or 18th. I've seen different things. Is that right?
I believe that is correct from the screenshots that I've been sent. Tarteman actually sent us a screenshot, but I believe that is
17 right now.
Okay. Understood. Okay, so those are the facts as we know it. Is there any other things that I'm missing, Bryce or Tartman, to add on to it for what ended up happening here?
I think you should, Tartman, you should paint the picture of the heat situation, right? Like that's definitely one of the core facts.
Yeah. I want to add that as well. I can even pull up Jedusor's statement here. I'll move this video over so people can watch it if they didn't. But let me actually add this real quick. So Jedusor replies saying, here's a little tweet to clear the situation regarding the pause during the last game. I had to take a break because I wasn't feeling well, and I think I was on the verge of passing out, especially because of the heat in my apartment, which was over 30 degrees, which Celsius, by the way. I couldn't continue the game under those conditions, so I took a minute to splash some water on my face before getting back to it. This pause absolutely didn't change the outcome of the game in any way. I've already explained all this to the admins who will decide for themselves whether I should be penalized. Personally, I don't think there's anything for me to reproach myself for it, and I fully deserve this win today. That's why I'm going to enjoy my evening now. I'll keep you posted on any developments in the situation. Thanks, praying emoji. Tarman, is there anything else you want to add to this on top of that?
Yeah, it's about the roll down, about this turn.
Okay.
Because people know me as probably the slowest player in the world.
Yeah, you? I thought it was Voltairix.
No. Voltairix is way faster than me, for sure.
Are you the EU Robin? Sometimes Robin moves in slow motion. It feels like he's moving faster. Okay, I like it.
Yeah, I'm kind of old.
Okay.
And I can say that this turn is really, really easy to execute. I mean, it's not a big roll down. He has 20 gold to roll. He already did all his transition. So the question is it, do you need a pause to execute this round correctly?
That is definitely a worthwhile question here. I do have like an outline of how we want to go into it, but I guess I want to just make sure that we have all the facts and observations correct before we start asking like substantive stuff about the roll down. So I just want to make sure we're not missing any context, correct?
No.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let's go into it then. Let's just jump into it straight up. I guess so. The first question that Tartman presents, and I guess we can have him go first here, is: do you think that this roll down is a difficult, meaningful execution barrier? And if so, does that influence anything, Bryce, in terms of how you're evaluating a situation like this with Jedusor?
First of all, the important part here is no. I don't think whether or not this turn is hard actually should have any bearing on this ruling whatsoever. And by the way, like it's easy to say that the turn is easy, but in practice in TFT, an easy turn on one life when you know you have the potential to win the game because you're a good enough player to know like it's before me, I can win this game. I just need to not fuck it up. Right? Like that's a really, really big deal. I think an analogy that I'm going to use right now, and I'm sure I'll come back to it throughout this, is that speed chess is probably the closest analog for me. TFT is not a game where you get infinite time to make a decision. Time is heavily gated. And so that's a huge part of what you're playing around. No one looks at a game of speed chess and says, well, this spot is really easy. Like he's already won the game. It's like, well, no. If you run out of time in speed chess, then you've lost the game regardless of the position you had on the board. This kind of feels like that to me on some level, where the time pressure is part of TFT. So a turn that could be objectively easy under certain conditions might be quite a bit harder under other conditions. And so I'm not sure that I agree with the analysis of, oh, it's just so easy, it didn't affect anything. But even if I did agree with that, it would not change how I feel about this circumstance. I think that's actually a red herring argument. I don't think that that's what matters here.
Okay. So I think a lot of people are saying as well, like I think Disopen in chat saying that he he's down to 1 HP, and largely he feels like that was due to the fact that Jedusor had mispositioned his Zed by taking too much aggression in the first place as well. So I understand. I want to also put it right here. I want to say two things. One, I don't want to make it seem like we're just putting Tarteman here to gang up on him and just like put him under pressure. I do know that English is not your first language as well, so it's going to be hard to communicate nuanced ideas. So I want to give breathing room for you to like, if you need to re-say something or like explain or take your time to actually think about it. I don't want to make it feel like all the NA people, because we are an NA-centric podcast, right? There's no beating around it. There are going to be people who help defend EU or defend France or defend Jedusor here, but I want to make it seem like heavily biased. So that being said, Tarteman, I just want to like establish that and also pass it back over to you. So what do you say in response to Bryce saying like, listen, it doesn't matter if the turn is, it doesn't like have any bearing on whether or not it's like against the rules, but also it's still a big deal that he did pause here.
Yes, it is a big deal to pause, of course. If he had paused the round before, for me, then it will be a massive problem because the round he has to take decision is on 4-5. This round on 4-6 is just finish execution. He has like 6 rounds to do and buying like 5 champions. So he already take all the decision he had to take on the game. So just mechanics for so if he missed those mechanics, which are really easy to me, and if it's easy to me, I mean it's easy for any player in TPC. Then if he can't manage to succeed this Frodan, he has health issue or is win trading. Because if he didn't manage to succeed this round, for me it's win trade. Because if you don't roll all your gold now and then you die, people will say, that is strange. Why don't he roll his 20 gold? Why he is not clicking his champion? Because like he's not able to enter his mouse because he's not feeling well. It's very warm. People need to know that it was a warmer May months in history in France. So, and Jedusor moved in his new apartment like 1 month ago. So, doesn't really know that he will suffer that much of heat. He's not used to play in this condition in this apartment. That's what I'm saying. So when he's pausing the game, it's because like he's not able to click on his mouse. Just that.
Okay, so it seems like there's a lot of circumstantial stuff that makes it difficult for Jedusor to play. My first question, and I guess this is maybe Bryce, you can follow up on this, but why didn't Jedusor say anything? I feel like the big issue that I think people have
To the admin.
Or even to like explain that like he could type anything immediately to the admin or even to the lobby, because a lot of people are asking what was going on. Why didn't he say anything?
Yeah, he just said sorry. First, in the ruling, you're not allowed to talk to other players during pause. Then for me, the main issue is with the admin. Why is the admin contacting him on Discord during the game? Like, we have to stream the game, so there is a streamer mode. We don't see notification on Discord when we are playing a tournament. So, for example, like the day before, on Thursday, our game were paused because I didn't put hashtag TPC on my title. And if someone didn't tell me in the lobby, oh, someone is is asking you on Discord to put hashtag TPC on your title, I would not have seen it. Because there is a problem with communication with the admin during the tournament. Why don't they send him a message in the client? Why are they sending a message in Discord during the tournament, during a game?
Okay, understood. So you're saying, if I'm understanding correctly, you're saying that it was because under the pressure of the moment, Jedusor was not able to communicate to the admins, and the admins should be communicating in the game as opposed to Discord. I'm trying
He
to
just
understand.
didn't know. He forget to say. He said sorry in the chat and come back to the game because for him it's not a big deal. Like this pause is not a big deal because he's just not feeling good and he's not about to play. So he feels like I have to pause because I'm not about to play. And then it takes like 1 minute break, come back and say, okay, I can play. I'm feeling better. Like my heart rate went down, and it is, yes, a lot of circumstances that lead to this situation. But in his mind, he's not trying to cheat or to. It just looks natural because there is a lot of people that are used to take break during tournament. I've seen a lot of guys like pause the game and I need bathroom or I'm not feeling well, and so. But it didn't happen during a final when a guy is 1 HP.
Okay.
So
Okay.
nobody noticed it, and there is no investigation with all those pause. But I can tell you from my TPC player perspective, I've seen a lot of pause happening for
Okay.
people like
Okay.
not
I think I
feeling
understand.
well or just need to go to bathroom.
I understand. So
So-
you're saying that this is actually common behavior to pause and almost seemingly like at random intervals throughout competition because people pause historically for bathroom breaks or people have paused for other issues. So you're trying to say, listen, Jedusor is not trying to be like it wasn't. Some people are saying like it was a premeditated pause. He was clearly trying to get an advantage. He knows he's being dishonest. You're saying that's not happening because it's like it almost feels like a customary thing where like listen, if people pause all the time for other reasons, so he was thinking it was okay to pause at that time, and so you're trying to clear his intent. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, and then yes, he didn't answer to the admin in the few hours after. I will explain it after.
Okay. Yeah. We have assets here of him. Clear another element of this. We can talk about this later, but I want Bryce to respond to that first before we move on to how Jedusor connects himself with the admins afterwards.
Look, there's a lot. Like a lot in there to respond to. I think important framing point for me because I know he's your friend, and I'll be arguing that I think that the punishment was fair and justified. I don't think that he did anything malicious. I don't. From my understanding of the facts, watching him on camera, listening to you all, his friends kind of talk about him and his character. I don't think that this was like a pause with the intent to cheat, but that I'm not sure that that's dispositive either. I don't think that that actually is what this analysis like is the analysis we'd be doing in terms of deciding whether or not this behavior is or is not okay. And so while I have a lot of empathy for someone in this situation, that doesn't mean that I think that like the right thing to do is to not punish him. I also will say that I am kind of flabbergasted that the entire dialogue around this is, well, he just happened to have heat stroke in that moment, right? While he's in the middle of a very large transition with the tournament on the line after kind of fucking it up the previous turn, like not getting his Z positioning correct and going down to 1 HP. I've played a lot of TFT in my life. Those moments, you get hot, you get stressed. That's part of playing TFT is that you are under an enormous amount of pressure. So we cannot divorce the situation that he is in from the kind of broader factual reality of it's hot in his apartment. If he wasn't under that much pressure, something tells me this guy is not getting heat stroke at that moment. And the reality is that I have no doubt that the heat influenced it because from a physiological perspective, right, when you get under that amount of stress, it is very likely that his body is being flooded with adrenaline, that his body is going into overdrive trying to calm his nervous system down, and it's really hot in his apartment and he's not used to that level of heat. So I'm not saying it's not a factor, and I have plenty of empathy for it, but I really struggle with this entire dialogue that separates the situation of the game from the action. And yeah, I've also seen plenty of examples of pauses in my time in TFT. You know, someone pause, you know, after an 8-minute break, we're in stage 1 and fucking someone pauses and says, you know, BRB bathroom or whatever, right? Those things happen and they probably should be punished on some level. It's not okay to pause in that situation. You should be responsible for taking care of yourself. But I'm not aware of any analog to what happened here of a player clearly under the gun with an enormous amount of pressure on him, pausing to splash water on his face and breathe for a minute and then playing again. That's just not something we allow in any esport, in any sport, to my knowledge.
There are examples. I think I hear what you're saying, Bryce, as well. So you're saying like that should not have any bearings of intent here. Doesn't change the fact that it feels like he broke the rules, and it's also it's not a legitimate excuse, right? Because a big part of the reason why I'm pulling up this investigation is because there's multiple rules here. The first is players can only pause a match if there was things that have been listed out here, like an unintentional disconnection, like things like physical interference, like a fan gank. Thankfully, that didn't happen, or a malfunction. And then the addendum to that is if a player pauses or unpauses for an unauthorized reason without permission for a riot official, it'll be considered unfair play and penalties would apply. And I think that's what you're basically saying. Like that doesn't change the fact that this is not actually a qualification, right? Because minor player illness, injury, or disability is not an acceptable reason for a player pause. Now, Tarteman, you're saying it is, right? Are you saying that it is an injury or like a potential injury worth pausing for? Because a lot of people, I want to sympathize here. A lot of people say that, yes, you can say 30 degrees is not that big of a deal. Other people in the world did. But a lot of people from France saying you don't understand what it's like to be in those conditions. And so you're arguing that it is worth pausing for.
I'm not saying it's worth pausing for. Personally, this pause is kind of weird. Effectively, the timing is not good, but there is issue with the rulebook. What is the difference between a minor player illness and a major player illness? How can the player can determine it's minor or it's major? If he faint on stream, then it become major. If he didn't faint, it's minor. If he has to throw up, it's major. If he throw up on the camera, what we do? Like,
okay,
what is the difference between a minor and a major illness? And then,
not to cut you off, but really fast, I would actually like to put a pin in this part of the discussion and move it to the end because I feel like we're going to be all over the place if we don't. I agree we should have a conversation about what the rule should be moving forward, right? That is a worthwhile discussion that I think reasonable minds can disagree about. But I think we should try to ground our discussion for now in the rules that we have on the set of facts that we have. And then when we're done with that discussion, we can then move on to, okay, what do we think this should be moving forward? What's the best thing for TFT esports overall?
Okay, so then what do you want?
Is that okay? So I do want to have this discussion.
Okay.
I just don't want to conflate it with the what should happen in this instance.
Okay, and just other thing, in the rulebook, they're asking they're asking the player to ask the admin to make the pause. It took him 8 seconds to slash pause. How long does he need to write a question to an admin? Can I take a break? Can we pause the game? And how long will the admin take to pause the game? Because maybe like the time he needs to write to the admin, the turn is already over. And if he doesn't play his turn, then we'll all be asking the question, what the fuck is happening?
Okay, understood. So you're saying it wasn't going to be worth the time to ask the admin to pause the game because the turn would be already over, and he needs that pause right there. Bryce, what were you going to say?
Oh, I mean, it's clear that he needed the pause, right? Like even the fact that it took him 8 seconds to type /pause, something tells me that under normal conditions, that's something that's going to happen in like a second, right?
Yeah.
So I think the amount of time it took him suggests that he was not in a okay place physically, right? I completely believe that. The question is, like the why and who is that on? Like who should be responsible for that? What is the fair outcome? And I will say that there's a broader thing in all of esports that are played remotely, like this tournament was, which is that you are responsible for your own setup. So if if you're in a spot with bad internet, right? For example, when your internet goes down, there's a grace period that's given to you, but then at that point, that's it. We have to keep marching forward. So, it's not fair from a kind of objective perspective that some of the players in the tournament were playing in much tougher conditions, right? The players in France who were dealing with this heat, that's not the conditions that you would want to be playing a tournament under, just like North America doesn't want to be playing Worlds at 4 a.m. or 3 a.m., just like Europe doesn't want to be playing this tournament on 200 ping, right? There are so many variables that come into play, but the notion that you are responsible for your own environment and setup, that's the only fair way that we can cut this. And so, yeah, that's harder, but there were a lot of actions that he could have taken that could have alleviated this problem on his end, right? He could have had a bucket of ice next to him. He could, with towels in it that he could have been putting over his neck. I saw a player that said after every game break, they hopped in and took a cold shower to reduce their core temperature, right? There's a lot of things that he could have done in order to make himself not be to be okay in that moment, and he didn't do those things. And I think that it's a passing of the buck to say, well, these were the conditions, it is what it is. It's like, no, you actually have quite a bit of agency over this, and it's your responsibility to play to the best of your ability in whatever environment that you can create for yourself under whatever hand the world is throwing at you.
Tarteman, I want to give you the chance to respond to that before I hop in.
Yeah, the thing about preparing to this heat wave, it's like this heat wave is like surprising us. We are not used to have this kind of temperature at this moment of the year, so that's why you don't have a air climatizer or maybe fans, and it just arrived in his new apartment. Yeah, he has some wrong on this, but he probably deserves a punishment. And then I agree with you. But the main issue we have, and Jedusor have the same issue, is the punishment. And we have to talk about this.
Let's do it.
Okay, cool.
This punishment is clearly not fair. That's the main problem. Because, the pros, I think he knows that this pose is weird and he deserves a punishment about this pose. And there is no problem about that. But now, is it a minor infraction or a major infraction? Like, did it take this pose to cheat? Or, as you say, there is nothing maliciously behind that pose. So, and I think this is important to then choose what sanction you want to give to the player. And actually, this sanction is not fair. It's clearly not fair.
Understood. Okay. Why? So I think we've established a couple of ground terms here, which is, I think, one, this was not done premeditated. It was definitely a spontaneous moment where Jedusor legitimately believed he needed that pause. Two, I think it seems like we're all on the same page where we think that pause is not okay. And we think that it's clearly breaking the rules and it's a violation of whatever Riot has laid out. But now so we can move on to the point where we can think about, is this punishment justified? So our topic one, we've already kind of passed, which is, should he get punished for what he did? I think most people say okay, yeah, it's probably not cool to do that. Now, this is where I think a lot of the issue lays, is this punishment too severe? I'm just going to read what Riot wrote. Based on the findings set above, Jedusor is fined an amount equal to 30% of the money earned from the Space Gods Darkstar Cup. I have to actually look up how much money that is. And will forfeit all $1,000. Okay.
Around, yeah.
And will forfeit all pro circuit points awarded for the event. And then in addition, he's warned that any further violations may result in escalated penalties. So Tarteman, you already stated that you think this is too much, right? You're saying this is too harsh.
Yeah, because the amount equal to 30% of his prize money, it's just the only fine he gets, because with losing 41 points on pro circuit, he was first. It was like kind of guarantee to finish first. So is also losing 1,200 for the regulation point. You know.
Yeah,
If
there's
you
it's like
finish,
it's
if
a
you finish
layered
first
fine.
in the season, yeah, it's a double punishment. Like there is 2 fine in one.
Yeah. He basically was fined $2,000 is what you're saying. He was fined for
Yeah.
the lower, the amount that he got for this tournament and then for the overall standings for the set.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think there's another point of this as well, which I'm going to go ahead and just say for Tarteman, is that they also think that it's way too extreme to be taking his points. Now, Bryce, do you think that this is a fair punishment? Some people, I want to say, and this is where Bryce can speak, they feel like it's not going far enough. Some people think that the world slot should also be taken his way. Or maybe let him keep his points, but the world slot should be stripped of some kind. Like basically, like whatever it is, it doesn't feel right that it's the invite for the world championship, because the reason why is because players say that if this is allowed to stand, then the incentive for a player in the future is to take a penalty if it can guarantee them a spot in the world championship, right? Let's say you're in a spot where your final lobby and say, you know what, I'm going to do something, whether it's pause or something else to my advantage, knowing that I'll take a 30% fine, but hey, listen, man, I made it to the world championship. The upside of that is really high. I'm willing to take that penalty, right? It's almost like like when the coach immediately flames the ref, he knows exactly what's going to happen later on. He's willing to do that. What do you say in response to that, Bryce? Do you think that is an accurate representation?
I don't think that I would view this punishment as quote unquote fair, because if I'm being honest, I think the only truly fair punishment in this circumstance would have been to let the game play out, take away his points for the game, and keep the tournament going. I think that's the only fair outcome here, is whether it was done with the intent to provide advantage, whether or not it actually provided advantage. He paused a game of TFT in a pivotal transitional moment in order to regulate.
No, it's not a pivotal.
No,
please,
it is.
Not a
It is.
pivotal
Wait a second.
transition turn. Like the pivotal
No.
transition turn is the turn before.
Okay, wait a second.
That's important for me.
Okay.
Really, because a lot of people think this turn is difficult, but
I'm not saying that it's. I'm not saying it's difficult. I'm not saying that it's difficult. You're arguing something different than I am. Okay, you're saying this turn was easy, therefore he could not fuck it up.
It's an execution turn, not a transition turn. It's a different thing.
Yes, as if no one in the history of competitive TFT has fucked up an execution turn, not to mention an execution turn with the entire tournament on the line. So I'm sorry, that argument just doesn't hold water with me.
It happens. Like, yeah, of course it happens, but it's not the same thing. It's important to say it's not the same thing between execution and transition.
Wait, I said it was an important turn. I didn't say that it was a difficult turn. Okay, so I think I said it was a pivotal turn, which it is. He's on 1 life, and if he does not execute, he is going to die with the winning board, right? If he does not execute this properly, he will die, even though he should be winning the lobby.
I want to just make sure there's no language, like, because he might be hearing the word pivot, Bryce, and he might be thinking transition.
Yeah. For me, pivot is like changing your board. Maybe
Bryce means important. Bryce means important turn.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to use different words. And I'm trying to make sure we're on the same page, right? Like I'm, totally.
Okay.
I can agree with you that under normal conditions on ladder or whatever, that this is a turn this guy does in his fucking sleep. I can completely agree with that.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that it's not a pivotal moment in the game, and there is no way to guarantee that he is going to be able to execute in that moment. And by the way, we know that he might not have, because he had to pause to take a break to collect himself to be able to come back and execute, right? So he felt like he was not going to be able to execute, and he took a break in order to be able to execute, okay? Whether that's malicious or not, that is cheating in a game of teamfight tactics. It is. Just on its face, that is cheating. It doesn't have to be that he was trying to cheat. He might have thought what he was doing was within the rules, but he did something that was clearly against the current rule set that could have provided him advantage in that game. That's ball game as far as I'm concerned. If I'm the person in charge on this set of facts and the tournament admins call me and say, here is what happened, where do we go from here? I would say, let him finish the game because I don't want to disrupt the lobby. We all know if you like forfeit him out, that dramatically changes lobby complexion on a number of levels, and I don't think that's the right thing to do for the whole tournament and for the whole lobby. So I would have talked about it behind the scenes. I would have let him finish it out, and when the game got over, when he thinks he won, I would have said, "I'm sorry, but we're taking away your points for this game. You're still in this tournament. You're still in check, and you still have the ability to win in the next game. But that pause was clearly against the rules, and the only fair thing we can do without being able to make a call." Because the reality is, we just don't know if he would have executed it, man. Like, he might have been able to, but he might not have, right? Under the circumstances, under the pressure with where he was at. And so that's the only fair outcome in my eyes. Now, once they don't do that, respond to that. Do you agree with that? Do you think that if the admins had been all over it, if we had been in a position to handle it in the moment, do you agree with me or disagree with me?
Yeah, I agree, but that's an admin issue then. Do you agree? It's an admin issue because
It's not just an
the
admin
admin
issue.
should have status right after the game, like there is a problem and we need time and maybe we'll have to run another game. And but they didn't. They announced him as the winner, so he saw the announcement. Then he closed everything and leave his apartment, go into his car and join his friend. And that's why he's not able to answer to the admin on the 2 hours after the tournament. And once he can, he answered them.
Yeah, I can agree that there are some good learnings here on the admin side and on the Riot side in terms of how to approach this. It was novel. To my knowledge, something like this has never happened, right? In the history of competitive TFT. And so they were trying to figure out how to apply the rules and running into the issue you were talking about, major minor illness and all this stuff. And they're like, we don't know, this stands. So I think that's the clear way this should have been handled from my perspective. Okay. So it sounds like you agree, Tarteman. So that's great. So we can agree that in the future, that's maybe the better way to handle something in this spot. Now let's look at what they had, because once the tournament's over, I'm personally not in favor of stripping the guy from his win. I just don't think that's fair or reasonable under the circumstances, because he should have had a chance to win the tournament. He should have, the tournament should have gone on and he should have had a chance to keep playing. And if you don't run it back in that moment, I am not in favor of like calling all the players back and keep going. That just doesn't make any sense to me. And so once a certain amount of time has passed, I think you're done. You're stuck. It is what it is. So I wouldn't have pulled away his world spot. I wouldn't have revoked the tournament win, even if I would have handled it differently in the moment. So then the question is, was this a proportionate punishment to what he did? And for me, I think it is proportionate. I think there's an argument that you could go harsher on this. I think the level of impact here is being dramatically overstated. He was fined, approximately $2,000 if you want to combine the fines for both, which I think is a fair point that you're making. I think you should combine those two fines. The fine had an impact on his tournament prize money. It also had an impact on his overall set prize money. But that doesn't feel disproportionate to someone that cheated in a game of TFT, right? Which is what it was, even if it was not malicious, right? Cheating is not required that it's on purpose. And he was deducted an amount of points that he is very unlikely to matter to him outside of the prize money context, as long as he plays even okay. And my understanding is that he's like the best player on the set, right? The chances that this guy is going to qualify, and get above the threshold for pro circuit for next set is really, really high. So very likely the impact of this punishment is for him is just $2,000. Now there's broader impact on the region as a whole, and I get that, and we can talk about that if you want to. But this punishment for what he did does not feel big to me. It feels about right, and if anything, maybe a little small.
Yes, but in our side, it's really big because we have to come back to set 11. On set 11, I've been win traded at Worlds. I should have probably made final lobby. I noticed the admin that Chinese player was cheating. He sold his whole board.
Okay.
What happens? What happens at this moment? The admin in Madrid were all agreeing that that was blatant cheating. So they contact Riot to deal with this problem. And what happened? Nothing. Nothing happened. Nothing, no answer, nothing. I contact them many times and I never had any answer. To get an answer, I had to make a thread on Twitter. So people like Soju, with a lot of people following them, retweet my tweet, and then he got a little fine, and this fine was it's Jedusor punishment is bigger than the fine a guy had to because he sold his board on World. And I think on the side you have someone who want to cheat and is not punished that much, like just a little fine, like because it was 30% of his world pricing, but the guy won 100 times more the week before at Chinese tournament. So it was like ridiculous fight. It was like not even a 2% pricing fine. And in this case, it is way more and is penalized on the competition, because if he failed the next cup, he will have to defend his spot on tier 1, and so he could be punished for the 4 next months for something it was not intentional for him to cheat, you know, like. And for me the intention is really important, because what we are seeing is like someone cheat and want to cheat, and okay, it's fine, because it's not happening to a big guy with a lot of people following him. And when it happens on your stream, Frodan, and when there is a lot of people realizing there is a problem at the exact moment, then it is fastly treated and it is hardly treated. Like,
You're not actually making an argument that this punishment was unfair. You're making an argument that the previous punishment was really unfair and way too
so there is a problem with the grid of sanction.
So there's definitely a problem across all competitive TFT rulings from my perspective as it relates to the calibration of punishments. And when we talk about what should be happening moving forward, I definitely want to get into that with you, because I think that that situation you're talking about should have been punished far more severely. I think there's a lot of examples actually of similar things that should have been punished more severely in the history of TFT. I agree that historically we have not taken win trading nearly seriously enough, and that we need a complete recalibration of how we're approaching those scenarios across the board. That doesn't mean this punishment was unjust. It means the other ones were.
And for Jedusor too, most people don't know, but during set 10, the Chinese champ was target griefing Jedusor on the last game to prevent him to reach the final lobby. So, and nothing happened too. So that's why for him, for us, it's like really unfair. When we compare the sanction, the reaction of Riot, it feels like when it happens on the big scene on Frodan stream, it's treated. And if it happens to us and we are not on the main broadcast, then we just don't care.
I mean,
that's how we feel.
I believe that's how you feel. I have no doubt that that is how you feel, right? And I don't want to. That's fair. I understand why it feels that way. Like being on, being a smaller streamer, someone that's not going to easily get on Riot's radar, right? And I know that there's a perception of an NA versus EU bias in all of this as well. But I really don't think that that actually pans out when you look at the totality of history. I mean, Prestevant is a big streamer. What happened to Prestevant at Worlds was very similar to what happened to you, and it wasn't okay. And it also was not punished at the level that I think it ought to have been punished.
What can I say about set 13? Like, if our group wanted to cheat, we could have done it, and nobody would have done it. See it, like nobody.
Yeah.
And we were 4 of our study group in the top 16 at the end of the world, and we would have been 3 in final, and you wouldn't have heard about precedent history if we cheated. But
Yeah.
that's not how we are. Like we are not cheaters. Like yeah, he made a mistake
Okay.
for
He
sure.
did.
I
But
understand.
this
I understand.
sanction is too much. It's just too much for a sanction. Like,
Okay.
It's
Okay.
too much in relation to the sanctions earlier, which we all agree were too little. But if you let's assume for a second that all of those win trading situations that we're talking about were appropriately punished with harsh punishments. We're talking about like multiple set bans, that kind of thing. Okay. If that had happened, do you think that this punishment is fair for what Jedusor did? And by the way, we've only so far
yes,
talked about.
yes, definitely. Definitely.
So
But
your problem is not with this punishment. Your problem is with this punishment in relation
it's
to
with
previous
all
punishment.
punishment. It's
Yes,
with the
sure.
grid of punishment. Like we don't have a grid of punishment saying, oh, if you take a break, then it's that's punishment. If you win trade, that's punishment. So and how do we choose those punishment? And that's still unfair. And for the competition in EMEA, that's still weird too, because now who is benefiting for this sanction? The 2 or 3 people benefiting for this sanction are Paperglad and Experian that were top 2 and top 3.
Yeah.
And there is someone that will go to final in EMEA that won't get a spot at World that should get it. That's a problem for the competitive. Like because Jedusor went to the final and he didn't cheat to get to the final. So why are we removing him 41 points? Like there is an issue with the final. The issue is in the final. We agree. So
Right, but
if the
wait,
issue is on the
wait.
final, we punish him for the final, not for the 2 days of competition that happens before.
Wait a second. That's one of those arguments that seems logical on its face because the action was only during the finals, and theoretically he could have just not showed up that day and gotten a lot more points than he wound up with. But that divorces it from the reality of what happened, which is that when you cheat, intentionally or not, there are consequences. Also, we have just kind of glossed over the lack of communication with the admins for this whole period of time, which you have explained, and there's a perfectly rational explanation as to why he did not communicate with the admins. But under the circumstances, his failure to communicate dramatically undermined their ability to tackle this in real time, to come up with a solution in real time, like for example continuing the tournament. And so he engaged in a series of behavior that is clearly punishable under the rule book, and there is no reason why that punishment needs to be contained to the amount of points that he could theoretically be earning on that day. I'm sorry, that's just not how punishments or justice work.
I need to
Can we
hop in
define
here.
the time?
I just want to
He
add
needs
context.
to answer because like he answered 2 hours later. Like he didn't wait 1 day to answer. Like 2 hours when he was able to answer, he answered. Like he just didn't notice it at the end of the tournament. And if he didn't notice it at the end of the tournament, for me, it's not his fault because he went to the French broadcast, to the main broadcast just after the tournament end. And once he did this, then he closed Discord and didn't notice. So
it's his fault.
The problem with communication is because it shouldn't, if admin want an early answer, they have to ask us on the client. Like what we have under the eyes is the client. We don't have Discord under the eyes during the tournament. If we are watching Discord during the tournament, I mean, like it's not normal to watch Discord during your tournament.
I mean,
I want to say a couple things here. I want to say a couple things before
please.
it. Just because people don't understand, some people might not understand what we're talking about, is that after Jedusor had won, the story is that he he won, and he immediately got into his car and drove to see Experion. Experian's another French player. I believe Experion was even playing in the final lobby. And I believe he was
Yeah,
driving Experion to celebrate or just because you guys are close friends. Um,
yeah.
and Experion lives about an hour and a half away in terms of the French. I don't know what cities they live in, but he lives about an hour and a half away. And in France, there are very strict laws not to use your phone if possible, especially texting while you drive. Which
Yeah, it is forbidden to type, yes.
yes, that's also a law in the United States. I think the reason why some people aren't taking that seriously is because a lot of people don't follow that in the United States. Not going to name anybody who does that, but I think there's a meme that says this show is actually called "Don't Text If You Don't Drive" or whatever. Don't text if you drive. But I think the point that we're trying to make is that Jedusor, you're saying that Jedusor didn't think there's an issue with it, and people are labeling him a cheater because he ended the tournament and instead of being accountable, he like ignored everybody and ghosted, and then made up some story. You're saying that what happened was he thought he won. He immediately wanted to go see Experian, like, hey, I'm gonna come see you. Got in the car, and then these screenshots that we have, which I actually had to do some elaborate ninjaing. I had to go and download this file through inspecting element, put in some AI translator just so you can understand what it says. But Jedusor was aware that he had to contact the admins. There was intent to contact the admins. He just said that I needed to finish driving first because of the laws. And he even replied, like, I guess, to or I guess he sent a voice message to Tarteman. Tarteman communicated that to the admin saying, hey, listen, he's driving. He will respond to you ASAP. He's not trying to ignore you. And so Bryce, when he says, like, hey, him trying to ignore the admins not responding, Tarteman is saying Jedusor did try to at least maintain some sort of contact. Yes, it's too much it's a matter after the fact, but it's not like he was trying to evade any sort of confrontation or whatever. Okay, I just want to set that context.
Was he on a one-lane highway with no exits for 100 miles? Like, is there a reason why he could
Kilometers.
not? Is there a reason why he could not pull his car over for 1 minute to look at his phone and respond?
Once
and
he
engage?
saw it, like he answered like 20 minutes later. Like it's just he
Ah,
didn't see it for the first hour. Like
right, but
his Discord was probably closed and didn't see it. And when he noticed it, like 20 minutes after, he answered to the admin.
okay. I mean, look, I again, similar to this whole situation, I have quite a bit of empathy for him. I understand the series of events that causes him to pause, that makes him think it's okay, why he doesn't check Discord, why he doesn't see this for a long time. But under the circumstances, if I'm pausing a game like that at the end of a game, something that has never happened in TFT, I'm communicating with the fucking admins about it, man. Like, I'm going out of my way to communicate with the admins about it, to explain what's going on. And if in the heat of the game he doesn't do it, he can certainly do it afterwards. And you're talking about Discord like it's like, oh, the only way we ever communicate with people in a TFT tournament is in the client. That's just not true. You know, I've been around fucking hundreds of TFT tournaments. Discord is the default means of communication, right? Like, maybe we need a better
Not during the
policy about,
game. Not during the game.
but
I've been
after the
contacted.
game.
I've been
After the game.
contacted by admin many times in client
Sure.
during games.
And I've been contacted by
And when
admin
it's
in
on
Discord
Discord,
during game
we
2.
can't notice it. We can't notice it on Discord during the game. It's
No
what
one,
I'm saying. Just during the game, the communication on Discord for me is dead. Like you can't communicate on Discord during the game. Like you can't open Discord during the game. For me, it's like cheating. Like how can we know that someone is giving him advice or anything on Discord? So it feels weird to say like you have to open Discord during the pause to send a message to the admin. Like it should be the admin who unpause the game, and
I mean,
it's not the admin who unpause the game. It's always the player. So why? And that's another issue. Like there is a rule book, but it has never been followed.
so
And
look,
and in this situation, like now, yeah, all the problem they have were with the rule book and with people following the rule book, all the situation, like everything at this moment are bad for Jedusor. Yes.
I want to
But
jump in here and ask, like, Experion was actually asking in Discord, why was there a pause? I feel like, I feel like most players know to contact through Discord. I feel like the framing right now from what I'm hearing is that it shouldn't be through Discord. A lot of times it should be through client. There should be kind of like the response there. But I feel like the natural response is to use Discord. I feel like, I mean, am I misunderstanding? Is there another platform that people are used to mainly contacting the admins from?
Oh, we always contact them through Discord. Yeah, we contact them through Discord between games, but during a game, we can't. That's what I'm saying. Like during a game, for me, it's not normal to open Discord during a game.
I see. Okay, you're saying it's not, you're not used to trying to message the Discord admins through the, during the game. That's not how it is in North America. I don't know how it is over in EU. In NA, we usually go through the Discord. I think that's probably where there's a little bit of disconnect, because for us, it feels logical to reach out to admin. It feels like you can hit them faster than in clients.
Can you, once the game is paused, can he type in game still if it's paused? Just out of curiosity.
In the rule book, no. In the rule book, it's saying during pause you can't communicate, but you can send a message and any player can see it.
But he could have chatted for the admins, right? He could have texted.
He just typed sorry. He types sorry and ready. Sorry, ready.
I feel like there's also an opportunity there.
And asking on the client, he would answer the admin right after. You know, like he just didn't notice. He just didn't know he have to notice an admin why he paused, because as I said before, a lot of players used to pause, and then that's a problem from the players. But what happened is the consequences of admin letting player pause for a long time and never reacted after one pause. And when it arrived in the final, in a crucial pivot moment, then it makes reaction, and the sanction is too big for us. That's what we think.
Okay. The punishment is okay. So there's two aspects we can talk about it. There's definitely people who think it's not enough the world's invite. I also want to say one thing here is that we are sort of beyond the point of being able to do anything with the world's invite. There's a couple of logistical problems that exist if let's say we did do that. Jedusor is no longer going to the World Championship. Let's imagine this world. Now what do? We're in a mixed competition. So does the spot go to Americas because there were 6 Americas players in the EMEA Darkstar Cup? Does it go to EMEA? If not, because we can't decide that, how do we go back? Do we have these 7 players play a 7-man lobby today on a patch that doesn't exist anymore with TPC coming up? There's definitely there's one thing that I can get behind with Tarteman saying. There was a fundamental breakdown at the administrative level. I think that there needed to be people that stepped in and say, we have to, like, maybe the admin pauses right after that and say, we have to figure out what happened here before we can move on, right? And obviously that would have been a really big wet blanket on the very tense situation. The day was actually fantastic, by the way. There was so many tense games and moments. I would have hated for that to happen, but they needed to pause. There was an administrative failure. I think Kian said it best. Kian was, sorry, I had this Soju tweet up. Kian said, why are we clowning the players' admins? We should, the TFT admins for even allowing the game to resume. Kian's is kind of on an angry arc right now. Without verifying the issue, not going to call names, but admins are not very professional or just a joke. But I think that there was definitely a breakdown in communication that needed to happen. But we can't do anything about the world's invite. If we walked away with just fining a couple $1,000s, I would say the vast majority players would say that, okay, I'm going to take advantage of this rule moving forward. And the precedent has been set that all they're going to do is fine. And for some players, that's not a big deal. I think, like, for a lot of the North American players, they would say, I would gladly take a $2,000 fine if that meant that I got a significant competitive advantage when I needed to. And then we just kind of have this system that breaks down because everyone's trying to exploit it for their best personal gain. And I think competitive integrity continues to fall apart. So I think Riot is forced to take a swift action because I don't think this is going to be the punishment next time. There's some people that are saying in chat, sorry, I'm kind of going on my box now, but there's some people who would say like, oh, well, now I'm just going to pause whenever I need to. No, you won't. No, you won't. No, nor should you think that's even remotely a good idea, because they did this punishment with the levers they had to pull. if you do that, you are going to suffer an even worse potential punishment. Like they only did this because they waited too long. They overplayed their hand. Riot said we need to have time to think about it. By doing that, they put themselves in a bad position. You shouldn't pause. If you're a player that's thinking that you can take advantage of this, you cannot. They're going to punish even harder next time. They're just trying to set a punishment that is strict, and they're making the example of Jedusor. Even if it's not fair to Jedusor because of what happened in set 11, I pulled up that thread with Ahau. I'm really sorry that happened to you, man. I remember what Distop even talked about it too. You're talking about the Alawi and the Januk thing, right? That was really messed up. But the reality is Riot historically was too lenient. They need to be harsher. And recently, it just feels like they've been overly harsh on a lot of stuff, right? The way they punish some of the bans on other people, like the Vitality guys, people felt like they were being unfair with that. The way they're punishing Jedusor
It was
here.
unfair for Vitality too, yeah.
Yes. Okay. And that's what I also want to talk about as well, is that there's a lot of conversation about regional bias. Like if this happened to, there was emotional tweets, and I feel like I have to bring it up here, but there was emotional tweets about like, if this happened, Jedusor responded by saying, if this happened, curious to know what the decision would have been if Distop or Brosa had been in my pause in my place. They would have I think they would have came down as hard on guys like this as well. I think it's unfair to say that it's an NA versus EU thing. I want to try to address that.
It was just under the emotion tweet, like he regrets it, and it's just because, as I said before, when it happened to us, admin didn't care. Like they didn't even answer. We didn't even get an answer for those guys cheating. And when is because what it is only saying the truth to the admin all the time. If he could just have lied and say, "Oh, my mouse got disconnected. I went to the kitchen to get a battery or whatever." And what would we have said?
You would have looked at the VOD and said, "No, you didn't."
Yeah.
How can you know? Like
well, he's on
I don't know.
camera.
There is an issue with my mouse. I can't click because we saw that he rolled, but we don't see him click on this mouse. So we can suppose he has an issue with clicking with his mouse. Like he's trying to click and it doesn't work. Like you can lie. Anybody can. He has been saying the truth and he didn't want to shit. And I think that is the most important thing. Like the intention for me is really important. Like it's because when you're saying that now someone is gonna take a pause, we all know it's not true. Nobody will take a pause before a round because most of the time it won't help you that much because you already had all your time before to think, okay, I will build this board, I will slam these items and all those stuff. So I mean, I'm pretty sure nobody will take a pause before a round on. And if you see it before a really important round, then you will know when he did it, it was really because he wasn't able to play.
So I agree with your statement that the intent matters, right? Like in criminal court, we literally distinguish between crimes based on your intent, right? First degree murder is the worst because you premeditated, you planned it in advance and intended to do it, right? Manslaughter is when you kill someone not intending to do it and you get less punishment for that. I think that Riot factored intent into its decision, and I don't think they made an example of him. I actually think that this punishment was extremely reasonable for someone that violated the rules around fair play in the game, right? Violating rules around fair play in the game, that ought to be among the highest punished things that exist. And again, he got a couple $1,000s in fine and likely no impact to him moving forward on pro circuit, right? In terms of expected value, right?
We don't know that, Bryce.
We don't know that.
We don't know that. And I want to say,
Wait, I know, you guys, I know he could go dead fucking last in the next tournament and then it would have a big deal. I understand that. I'm talking about it in terms of expected values. I'm talking about it in terms of the likely consequences for him based on the punishment.
Okay.
Right? Understood. The expected value for him is certainly qualification in this. He's way over 50% to qualify, right? I mean, Jed, he's your friend. You know how good he is at TFT. be honest about it, Tarteman. What do you think the likelihood is that he secures enough points in the third cup to make it into the pro circuit? If you had to put a percentage on it, given how good he is.
I will say like something like 70 or 18% because
Okay, great.
after the thing is, if you start the tournament and have a 3 shitty game like I had at last tournament, it can be, even if you're playing super well, you can have 5 points after 3 game, like, and then even if you're the best, if you have the worst game, then you're out. So yes, it's most likely going to make it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
So
we don't know. And
we don't.
the thing is, he is the best of the region. And even for me, I don't want to fight for week 1 against Jedusor.
Yeah, of course
I
not.
don't want to fight against Jedusor. I want to fight with the real top 17, the real top 18. Jedusor is the best. Why is now in competition with me? Like,
Yeah. Well, the answer is because he broke the rules.
but it's
Both-
the thing
both-
is not fair
both
for the
by his-
other
Okay,
players.
Bryce. I think we understand
both-
that. I
Right,
want
but no,
I also bought this asset because Tarteman wanted to show people that he could easily be self-interested, especially with Experion. People are like trying to point a little bit at Tarteman and Experion. I want to just at least be fair because Tarteman shared this with me, but Experion and Tarteman stand to benefit from Jedusor's penalty, like a lot. Tarteman currently would be in top 16 and Jedusor would be out. And Experion is actually now in contention for the world spot because of Jedusor's penalty, right? So these guys who are like trying to bat for their boy is also like technically hurting themselves by doing that. I just want to like clarify what these assets are. Anyways, continue, Bryce. I'm gonna go to the bathroom actually.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, he engaged in multiple violations of the rules, both from the pause and for failure to communicate with the admins. And we can explain all of that, and there can be no ill intent behind any of that. And it doesn't change the fact that it happened, that he did it, and that those are factors that weigh into punishment. So and you even said, like, we even got to agreement on this like 20 minutes ago when I said your problem is not the punishment on its face. Your problem is the punishment relative to the lighter punishments that have happened for things that you perceive to be worse. I also perceive those things to be worse, right? I also think those things in TFT history should have been punished much more severely and ought to be punished much more severely moving forward. And that's the world in which I want to live. I think we should talk about what this looks like moving forward, because I think that's like the last piece of this discussion.
There is just one thing. It's like, it happens in the final. I don't get why the punishment is not relative to the final. And once they declare it the winner, like, is the winner, it's over. So for me, the main problem, the main issue are how it has been dealt by the admin at the moment and just after. And saying like there is a lack of communication, like he answered 2 hours after. Like, it's not like he waited 3 days or something. Like, it's not a lack of communication if you answer 1 or 2 hours after.
It is if it prevents them from being able to decide whether or not to continue the tournament, which absolutely was on the table in this instance. His failure to communicate for 2 hours.
They declare him the winner.
Sure.
They said he's the winner. Why? They shouldn't.
They shouldn't. I agree.
So that's the main issue. The main issue is with the admin not being able to contact him during the game because we are in streamer mode, so we don't have notification on.
And no, you've made this argument. I understand what you're saying, and
for me, it's the admin the main issue. And if we
call it
want
the
to
main
punish
issue,
him, it's with the final. And now we are punishing him for his old tournament and his old season and maybe next season.
So
for one game in a final.
I think it's fair to say that the main issue was the admins, if that's how you want to approach it. Like, I understand where you're coming from. For me, it's kind of a plague on both of their houses. Admins could have handled this a lot better. Jedusor could have handled this a lot better. The fact that the admins did not handle it as well as they theoretically could have under the circumstances does not change the fact that his conduct was clearly against the rules.
Yeah, and I don't think Tarteman's pushing back against that as well,
because there is always a minor measure in this, and we can't determine if it's minor or measure as player. Like, we are not doctor, like, and it's not clear in the rulebook.
Okay.
So can we
I
really say it's a violation when you read the rulebook with a major minor illness?
yeah, I do think we can
It's
say
gray.
that,
It's not
considering that.
white or black.
No, it is actually, because he was okay to stand up. He was okay to type pause, to stand up. He was able to regulate himself within. Someone said earlier he was gone for 39 seconds. So a 39-second break and splashing water on his face solved this problem. So no, it was not a fucking major illness. He got in the car right afterwards and drove for an hour and a half. No, it was not a major illness. Okay, I understand. There is wait a second. There is theoretically ambiguity in the rule book as it relates to what constitutes a major or minor illness. But we have the facts of this case, and it's not fucking close. This was not a major illness.
I disagree with this because I already had in my life 2 or 3 panic attacks, and 2 times I fainted. So 2 times I fainted. So if he fainted, yes, he didn't, because he took a little break and take some air, drink a little bit of water.
Yeah,
Because,
which, by the way,
he calmed down directly. But if he keep warming, how can we know that he's not going to faint on the computer?
Well,
we don't know this.
We can't, but I would say that we have what actually happened, and based on what actually happened, I do not think this was a major illness. Now, in these situations, it's impossible to
But
say
you're not
for
a
sure.
doctor. You can't determine.
I agree. No, I agree. You can't say for sure. I completely agree with that, right?
Yeah,
But
you can't say for sure. So it's gray. It's not white or black.
No. This is not how application of the law works, Tartman. You have a rule. You have a standard by which you apply the rule. You use your best judgment based on the facts that you have to make a decision. Okay? Based on the facts that we all have, I think it's an extremely clear case that this was not a major illness. Even if it's not an extremely clear case, they don't need it to be. They can just decide what they think better than not, higher than 50% likelihood was it's a major illness. And under the circumstances, you can always throw fucking gray, man. You sound like O.J. Simpson's attorney being like, this thing, that thing. You can always point out things where maybe there's an argument for the other side. That doesn't mean you can't make a decision based on the rule under the circumstances.
Okay, so it sounds like we're just in a disagreement here, where I think Tarman's saying this was actually a severe case, a potential severe case, and it was better, and it's like fine for Jedusor to have done that, and Bryce is saying this is clearly a violation of the rules, and they can actually, and there's not much more discussion beyond that. At the risk, I don't want to necessarily go in circles here, because then I feel like the Tartman's response here would just be like, well, I don't think so. I think it actually could be, because a lot of players say, well, what are we supposed to do? Let ourselves potentially faint on stream and then act? Like, that would also be a disaster scenario, and nobody wants that. Nobody wants Jedusor to actually faint.
But that will happen now. That will happen. With what Riot decide, that will happen, because no one will pause the game and will stop if he's feeling really bad. Because now
I would pause the game. I would watch him on camera. I would pause the game, but I understand what you're saying. I know what you're saying. We don't want that to be the case.
It's not your right to pause the game.
Under the circumstances, couldn't he have just gotten up when his board was fighting? He took 39 seconds. He could have stood up, splashed some water on his face, gone back to the table.
Yeah.
And by the way, if he had done that and he was like, "I'm still gonna,"
it's an addition of fact, like I'm 1 HP or. All the things like conduct to the situation, and before, he could have paused before, but it didn't feel that bad before, and the warmth and the stress, and yes, that's a lot of circumstances that lead to that. But for me, it's for the future. Like, for the future, if now we have someone fainted or throwing up during a game, what are we gonna do?
Yeah, that is one of my questions, Bryce. If in the future, if someone genuinely thinks they're gonna faint, but it's like they know it's not gonna be a major illness, and all of a sudden it's like a spontaneous thing, what should do you think should be done under the current rules, or do you think the rules should adjust for that? Like, what should
Yeah,
Jedusor be doing?
I think that it's fair to ask this question of what should happen moving forward if a player legitimately thinks that their health is in jeopardy from continuing a game. And I do care about his health. I don't want this dude to have fainted. I don't want him to have suffered any serious consequences. I do think that part of what you do under player health is that you have to communicate like, hey, you are responsible for your environment. If there's an environmentally driven problem like heat, you need to have a plan in place so that you can figure that out, because you're going to be playing a game that's going to put an enormous amount of stress, right, and pressure on your body. And so you need to have solved that problem. So I do think that I'm not going to like shift the onus away from the players to account for that. If someone were to faint at their desk while playing a game of TFT, then I think, we have cameras on everybody, right? So I think you probably should pause the game under the circumstances. Obviously, you call 911 and you figure it out from there. That's just not this set of facts. Like, I think arguing, this is one of those weird things where like in debating, it's like you're creating a new hypothetical and debating against that hypothetical, which I think is fair. And I think it's actually a really tough call to make, because on the one hand, I do care about player health, but on the other hand, TFT is going to put pressure on you. And if you're having a panic attack because you're playing TFT, that doesn't give you the right to just like stop the tournament and say, okay, well, I'm having a panic attack. It's like, well, you're having a panic attack because of this. If you have a panic attack when you're playing another esport, another sport, it's not like you get to just stop the thing and say, well, this is happening in my body, and so we're pausing the tournament. So I'm not, I have a lot of empathy for a player in that situation, but I'm not sure that the correct thing to do from an esports perspective, from an integrity perspective, is to say, okay, well, in that case, now all bets are off. We're done.
Yeah, I think he has to take the 8th in that spot. I think Jedusor needs to stop and message the admins, especially if he's like during his turn. I think it's a heat of the moment judgment. Now that he knows what happened, he absolutely would have probably like done his roll down as best as he could, and then message the admin saying, "Hey, I need someone to pause." Hopefully, someone sees it. But I think, given that is what happened, and Bryce is right, we have to evaluate based off what did happen, not what could have happened if we didn't do that or avoided it. This is the punishment that we have. I think we covered most of the issue. So I have only 2 more things that I wrote down that I want to ask. One, the first is, what's the average competitor takeaway from this? Like, there's a lot of people in chat who compete, right? Both EU and NA. There's top level players like Dishso, Kerm, Soju in chat. There's also people who are like, hey, I'm going to be part of this as well. What is our takeaway from this, Bryce?
I mean, my takeaway from this is that we continue to have a real problem with calibration of punishments in behavior of TFT tournaments, right? Because I can both look at this and say, okay, one, I wish the admins handled differently, and I want there to be systems and processes in place to be able to theoretically address something like this in real time, so that you don't declare someone like Jedusor the winner in the spot, and you figure out the right way to handle, because I think you lose access to a lot of more fair outcomes when you declare him the winner and you move forward. So that's my first takeaway. My second takeaway is that while I think that this punishment was justified, I agree that it doesn't make any sense for this to have been punished more severely than much of the conduct that we've been talking about that, happened to Tarteman, that happened to P-God, that happened in other situations. And so I continue to think that integrity in TFT tournaments is a holistic problem that needs a holistic solution, and that while the weird thing is that I'm constantly arguing against precedent in this, and while I'm a lawyer, I understand the value of precedent. There's for those of you who never really thought about this topic, the reason why you want punishments calibrated against previous ones is because you want to be able to predict what the outcome will be based on your behavior. And so knowing how something was punished in the past and it kind of aligning, there is fairness to that. My issue is that I think TFT doesn't have enough of these examples, and we often are comparing apples to oranges, and then that we handled a lot of oranges a lot differently than I think they should have been under the circumstances. So I think we should be going back to the drawing board and rethinking what is the level of severity of different actions in TFT, and make sure we're actually punishing them accordingly. I'm also open-minded to the idea that the rule book around player illness should be addressed, and that we should be having conversations with a lot of pros around, hey, let's talk about a couple of these hypotheticals, like someone fates in a tournament, or this happens or that happens. What do we all think should occur in those spots, right? And get on the same page, and then adjust the rules accordingly. In this situation, you have to punish based on what the rule book was.
Okay. I think that's all fair. Tartman, I guess my question to you is, what do you think people are getting wrong about this situation, whether understanding about it or how they talk about it? Because there's a lot of misunderstandings and miscommunications on it. Specifically because I think people are starting to now just attack people on a personal level. People are insulting each other, saying you're stupid, you're dishonest. When I say you, they're talking about like a bunch of people. Like the French people are just being crazy or whatever. Like, what is your response to that? Like, what do you think people are getting it wrong?
The thing is, we have been honest during with the admin, and we have been honest on everything. Like as we said, we could have shit easily at Worlds, and you will not have heard about Steven's story because he would have finished 10 or 11 if we did it. Nobody would have noticed it. We are not cheaters. Like that's how, and people think Jedusor did it maliciously, and that's not the fact. That's not the fact, and it's not malicious. And so, and maybe people doesn't realize that France is not a country that is used to warm temperature. Like it's we are not like in Saudi. We are not used to have warm temperature in France. So that's why it can look to you like 30 degrees is not that much. It's fine. Yeah, just have a fan or air conditioner, but we are not used to except at this period of the year. Like if it happens like in 2 months, it's different. Like during summer, okay, but it's very early in the year for such warm weather. So
Okay.
when he did it, he really was not feeling good, and he could have fainted. For me, like I know my guy, I can see on his face how bad he is, and I can tell you there is a possibility that if he tries to play his run, he can't fight on live. That's what I think.
Okay.
When
Understood.
I see him, I think he's going to fight. And I know this guy for 3 or 4 years, and I spend more time, as I said, he's the guy with who I spend more time. So when you see saying I'm going to fight, he's not saying it trying to cheat or taking advantage of the situation. He didn't need it. He already won the game before. He took the best decision. He has been the best of the tournament. He deserved the win. The admin declared him as the winner after the game. The tournament is over. For me, the chapter is closed, and if there is a problem with the pause, then it should have been fixed at this moment, and the game should not have restart. If the game restart, then for me the pause issue is over, and it should not even get punished because the admin at this moment considers it was fine, and because admin in Europe had the same issue. Like Tony just told me, like it's fucking warm in London too. So they were aware of the issue, and on the moment, like nothing happened really, and they let the game goes on. If the game goes on, then the game is over. He has been the best on the game. The pause didn't. For me, the pause didn't give him an advantage. Like, do you need a pause to execute a turn when you have to roll, make 6 roll and buy 5 units? No, you don't need a pause to roll 6 and buy 5.
Okay. I think that part's been very clear. I think we know that you strongly feel like Jedusor is deserving champion. And I mean, I don't think anyone, if there's any consolation, I don't think anyone questions whether or not Jedusor is a good player. I think, I actually would argue he doesn't need the pause at all. I think I was hoping that I would like to think that if he didn't pause, he wouldn't have fainted. But you are adamant in believing that, listen, the conditions are different. I lived in Europe. I'm an American that has lived in Europe, and I know exactly what you're talking about. There's been heat waves when I was living in Germany, that caught me off guard. And I was looking at it, and it was 90 degrees. 90 is even higher than 30. And I was like, I feel like I've lived through much more temperatures, and this is difficult because there's not ventilation. I understand that completely. I think a lot of people just do not feel like, one, you're allowed to do that, and two, the pause is an advantage, regardless of whether or not he felt like it is. It doesn't matter if you feel like it's not an advantage. It is definitely an advantage to pause in that situation because of the circumstances. I think that's where people are coming from. And if we disagree, I think that's where we disagree. I think what we can agree upon, admins, the ruling needs to adjust a little bit. Admins need to step in. Policy needs to change as well in terms of informing players on procedure. It's actually crazy to me. Something that people don't know is that they actually make the players do a training before each competitive season. They sit them in call and say, here's like the way you conduct yourself as a player. Here are the rules and procedures. You're going to get fined if you XYZ, if you don't have your cams, if you like mess up, like showing up for your game day, so on and so forth. They need to bake that in as well. There's definitely some procedural things that can prevent it in the future. And the last thing is, I think we need to stop turning it into a regional war. My conclusion of this is like, it's not an EU versus NA thing. If this happened to Setsuko, I think everyone would make it a giant meme, right? Because of his punishments in the past. And people would actually say like it's deserved or whatever, or like they hate because that guy's made a couple enemies in TFT's past. I'm just using him as an example. Sorry, Kevin. But I'm saying that it's not going to be like this, like, I want to remove the idea that the admins and the call was made from NA and therefore like they hate EU, they hate France. We can't stand the idea of EU winning.
We know about that. We all know about that. It's not about EU. It's not like they treated the case differently. It's just like if there were no NA in the game, it would not have been treated.
Okay.
And I'm sure about it, like 100%. If it happens without NA, if you weren't streaming, I can tell you, nothing of this would happen. For sure.
It should, though. Like maybe you're right. We
maybe
can't
it
know.
should, but I'm sure it would happen like this.
Well, look, I just want to say, when Dan and I talked about doing this show, I felt really strongly we needed to have someone to represent Jedusor's viewpoint, and that's not an easy thing to have done under the circumstances, right? There's a lot of like emotion tied in this to you. This is one of your really good friends that's being from your perspective unfairly maligned online, and I think actually from my perspective unfairly maligned on some level too, right? Like I am not inclined to think that this was a malicious action. I think it was a stupid action, but that's not the same thing, right? And I think under the circumstances, he did deserve punishment. And obviously, I've argued aggressively with you over the course of this show because it's the only way I know how to argue, right? Like if you're gonna get fired up, I'm gonna get fired up, and I'm going to be passionate about my positions. But I hope that you didn't take it in any negative way. I really appreciate you come on and giving your viewpoints, and it's not an easy thing to do with this chat behaving the way that it is. It's obviously like a home crowd for NA, and there's going to be a certain kind of perspective on this. So I just want to say thank you very much for joining us and for representing that viewpoint. I think it's really important that both sides of this were hashed out, and I'm glad we did.
And there is something I want to say, because like people like said, oh, if it wasn't happened to Jedusor, Tarteman wouldn't have react like this. People don't know me, and if it happens to any player, even people, even one guy I hate, even any Chinese cheater player, if it's going to fate, if it's telling me I'm not feeling well, I'm not able to click on my mouse, I need a minute. Like as a competitor, I want to play against the best at their best. I don't want to win a game because my opponent is not able to roll 5, make 6 roll on a turn. Like we are tactician. Like being a TFT player means taking good decision, and at the right moment. It took every good decision at the right moment, and that's what I want to say. Like it doesn't matter who it happens. Like if someone have health issue and need break, for me, the pose is legit. For me, this pose is legit.
Okay. Heard loud and clear, and I respect that, that you would pause for anybody. maybe not just say a Chinese cheater. I know what you meant. You meant in this incident with this, but
But
yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
I'm not classified every Chinese as
Yeah,
cheater.
yeah. Okay, cool.
something.
All right, just we're on the same terms. I think this is a good stopping place. Oh, there was one other thing I thought that was interesting. I think this is like kind of funny. Oh, not this one. Okay. Can you tell me, Tarteman, is Experion actually serious about this? He's gonna quit TPC after this season, is he just rage tweeting? Like what's going on here? This Experion guy says I'm quitting TPC. Is he for real?
Probably yes, because the scene is kinda dying. Like it's not easy to leave from the game. To have a team actually. I don't know. In EMEA, there is like we are like less than 10 players with a team supporting us. So
Okay.
if you don't have enough people on your stream, it's hard to be sure everything is going to be fine. So for him, I feel like it's the right moment.
Okay, understood. Well, in that case, we got a lot to look forward to this weekend. This weekend will be the Dark Star Cup. You get to see Jedusor play for a spot in week 2. You see Tarteman as well battle it with Experion. We'll see what the final lobby is going to be like, but that'll be pretty interesting to watch.
I just want to say, we are gonna all perform on next week. You can be sure about it. And Experion will get this world spot, and he will probably offer an air conditioner to Jedusor with those 200 euros.
I like it.
Is that what he needs? He needs 200 euros for an air conditioner?
I don't know, but I think it's a naive gift with this cash prize from the first place.
Not bad.
I love it. You guys have to sign it. You need to sign his air conditioner.
Yeah, take a picture of it and post on social media. I think that would be pretty funny. That'd be pretty funny. Before we go, this is the end of the podcast, guys. But this is unfortunately the end. As in Bryce and I, we don't know next time we're gonna meet up. I'm really glad that we did it with Tarteman. Again, everything Bryce said, I'm really thankful for Tarteman that you came along as well. If you guys love esports podcast covering TFT, the Roll Down also does a podcast with CLE and Gangly. The Roll Down on YouTube, they do good stuff, man. They do the power rankings. They had Soju on, they had Weijin on, they had Darth Noob on, the winners of it as well. They get other guests. They're really trying to keep it alive. Bryce and I don't always have the time, mainly that right now we just don't have the schedule of it. But this was fun, man. This was really good to do. But I want to also encourage you guys to check out other people's content too, because they put a lot of time and effort in it. So just wanted to shout that out.
Great humans, great comment, love it.
Yep, that's right. Okay, final. So Tarteman gave us final words, which is they're going to pop off this weekend. Jedusor is going to buy an AC unit, and they're going to prove it once again with their play, which I love to hear. I love a double down. Bryce, any final words before we go?
I am always happy to be back. It was a fun trip down memory lane, a fun debate and discussion about this situation, and also where TFT goes from here. I may not, closely follow the scene anymore, but my heart is always here. And I just really, really enjoy being back with this community, even if it's only for a moment. And who knows, you never know what will happen down the road, but any chance I get to kind of plug back in, even if it's only for a moment, is always a really special time for me. So thank you for having me. Thank you for doing it. And thank you to everyone for showing up.
Absolutely. I'm always down for one more Bryce ult, which is crazy. Really good stuff, man. And if you guys want to know where we'll upload to our YouTube channel. Don't Talk If You Don't Know. It's basically a dead channel. They actually revoked our partnership because we've been inactive. So I don't even know if I'm allowed to upload it there. We'll see, because in order to upload longer VODs than like a certain amount of time on YouTube, you have to have like certain partnership deal. So we'll see. If not, it'll be on my Vosh channel, but we'll upload there. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you at the Dark Star Cup. I'm out from Frodan, Bryce, and Tarteman. It's been Don't Talk If You Don't Know 62. The reunion for the Jedusor ruling. Hope you had a good time, and hopefully we'll see you around next time for more TFT action.